Welcome to Full Scope, a podcast with two guys in their 20s, giving their perspective on the games that we love and the story behind it all. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Saywa Morris. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. How's everything?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of topics to get into tonight, as always, and to start things off, the past divisional round, the Chiefs they won convincingly. Damian Williams had a really career high 129 rushing yards. The Rams were up by 2 scores for most of the game against Dallas and won by 8. And the Saints won a bit of a nail biter against the Eagles, and it was like the type of game where they really dominated the second half, but the score, told otherwise after the Eagles got off to a really strong start. And then the Patriots had a wire-to-wire win, just convincing blowout of the Chargers. And now we have the top 4 seeds, two rematches that were, just extremely scintillating matchups in this season. But what were your thoughts on what outcome impressed you the most from kind of like the top 4 teams?
I think that's I don't want to say the Rams. Well, I will say the Rams because
they rushed extremely well.
Yeah, they did, and I knew Todd Gurley was going to be a force to be reckoned with, obviously, but I didn't know how consistent he would be coming off that injury that had him out for the last couple, regular season games. But then you get a guy that we never thought. Anderson coming from CJ. Last time we see CJ Anderson consistently was with the Broncos. Mm-hmm. So now he looks heavier. He doesn't look as small as he was, and now he comes in and gets over 100 yards. I didn't foresee that.
There may be a reason for that heaviness. More eating.
Yeah, more eating. And then he's really turned into a Goldberg. He used to play for the Chargers. But I knew Dallas Cowboys would play them well. I knew Zeke would have a great game. I knew Dak would do justice, but I didn't think they were going to beat Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys has too much momentum coming in, going on the winning streak to be able to get into.
You like Dallas in that matchup?
I did because to the Rams secondary. And it showed. It showed.
Yeah, but the thing with me, I just didn't trust Dak enough to exploit that. They at points they did exploit it, but it's just to me their offense it still doesn't have like a clear identity to me, because sometimes they use Dak more. Dak is more of a runner in the red zone, which I feel like he should be that most of the time, because that's when Dak is at his best, when he's running.
I totally agree when he's mobile, but I just didn't have faith in the Rams secondary, given their legendary secondary that they have with those great guys led by Tariq. I just didn't have that faith in them. But I knew the offense was going to move the ball. I knew the front seven was going to bring pressure, but I thought Dallas Cowboys' momentum was enough to catapult them into the next game. But it was a good game. It wasn't like a blowout. It was 30-22. It was still a good game. But I just didn't think that the Rams secondary was that they allow over 300 yards a game. And Dak did get he almost got 300 yards. And Dak is not a big passer. Mm-hmm. He's a guy who manages the game. He takes what you give him, and he's a smart quarterback. He doesn't do too much. He doesn't do too little. He does just enough. And I just didn't think that their secondary could do that. But they'll have a test in shortly, or another test.
Yeah. And to me, I feel as though this was the type of game to me, like the most impressive one was what New England was able to do, because I honestly felt as though the Chargers had a really good shot to win. I thought the Chargers would win, but at the same time, you think about it, and it's just so tough to bet against New England at home. And they've shown us so many years that even though Brady didn't look, he at times he looked, average and not as sharp, and looked like showing the signs of a 41-year-old quarterback, it did seem as though there was like significant regression with Edelman, and Edelman had a phenomenal game. And then Sony Michel was it Sony Michel who had so Sony Michel was phenomenal. And they morphed into a power running game, and whatever New England has to do to win, they will. Because like one illustration that was just really on point was by one of the Ringers NFL insiders, Kevin Clark, and he said New England's like a casino because they constantly just win on the margins. You know, every time you try to bet against them, they're going to find a way to prove you wrong. And this is what they did. And that's what makes New England just a consistent juggernaut. But transitioning to go ahead.
Before you go, what kind of threw me off about the Chargers was they got away from the run game.
Right.
And Melvin Gordon only touched the ball 9 times. He scored a touchdown, 15 yards. He touched the ball 9 times. If my MO, which got us there, was consistently letting us win, was the run game and Melvin Gordon, why not give him more touches? And then it was surprising that you got your star wide receiver back, Keenan Allen, which had 75 yards and 1 touchdown. And you had Mike Williams being consistent and having that momentum coming out of the regular season into the postseason. I just thought they didn't do enough on the offensive side, obviously. Yeah. But they didn't stick to their guns. The running game is what you got. I know they was stopping it, but I think they got away from the run too early. Maybe because they were trying to play catch up, maybe. But what got you there, don't go from it. Melvin Gordon got you there.
Do you think this was a win where New England's clicking at the right time, or maybe we put too much stock into the fact that the Chargers won 9 road games and they were one of the most balanced teams, like 10th in offensive efficiency, top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency?
All of that.
Yeah.
First, just given the Patriots' MO and their history, they always turn it on in the postseason. They're never a pushover in the postseason. I've never seen New England back down from a challenge. And number 2, Chargers have beat great teams this year. And to name one is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that plays a factor into that. But then I think they were outcoached and then they were outran. And then you have Tom Brady on the other side, who's 40 years old, looking like a spring chicken, throwing it, gunnering it. And then you have a leader in Julian Edelman, who was suspended for the first 4 games, which I think was the best thing for him, just to make sure he was completely healthy when he came back from the knee injury. So everything follows. So it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And
that was this year? Finish. Edelman was suspended this year?
Yes.
Wow.
Because remember, he wasn't there for 4 games. That's why they got Flash, and Chris Hogan has not been seen from 7-Eleven to close. I don't know where he's been this season, but I don't know. But yeah, he was suspended for 4 games. I think
you never know, man. We may be working at 7-Eleven. Times may have gotten.
Right. Look, he's not. If it wasn't for all 20 running backs they use off the backfield and Edelman, I don't think their offense would move sufficiently like they do, because Burkhead and James White. Woof. But they have James
threw like 75%. It was funny. There was this stat line that when Michelle was in, they ran like 65% of the time. And when James White was in, they threw 76% of the time. And the Chargers still couldn't stop it. Like they were clearly showing you what their game plan was, and they were just still dominating.
And that's just crazy. A running back was targeted 17 times.
Yeah.
Caught 15 for almost 100 yards. That is crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. But Edelman was targeted 13, which is the second highest on the team. But if they use James White's more than enough. But no. I love that's game planning. If it's not broke and they can't stop it, we're going to continue to do until they stop it. And the Chargers could not stop it. I thought at least they would get some pass rush on Tom Brady, led by Melvin Ingram and Bosa, but that didn't happen. But I think they got outcoached, and it showed on the football field.
Yeah, and if it just didn't feel as though if the Patriots dynasty doesn't, and it doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon. It wasn't gonna end at home against the Chargers, and they showed there was just a superior coaching performance put on display. Transitioning to the conference championships, the Rams and Saints, they played earlier this year when I believe the Rams were 8-0 and the Saints were 6-1, and that matchup, it was. I think the Saints got off to a really I think a 28-point lead or a 21-point lead, and the Rams were able to tie it up. And on both sides, you have like phenomenal playmakers. You know, Michael Thomas had an outstanding game. Kamara and Ingram, they kind of got on later in the game. And the Saints, they're kind of a different team. Their defense is really different than what it was in that last matchup. Because at that time they were 27th in defensive efficiency and gave up 26 points per game, but are now 6th in defensive efficiency and now holding teams to 16 points per game. And the Rams, you know, Cooper Kupp was. I don't think we realized at the time how big of a target he was and the impact that he had on that team was, because now it's. I'm not going to say I would think differently about the outcome of the game if he was there, but it really would give the Rams another added dimension.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
But coming into this game and what should be another scintillating matchup, maybe not as high scoring with the Saints defense, but what are your thoughts on some of the factors and the key matchups in this one?
It's interesting that you did say Coop, because if they had him, that offense would be even more crazy. And we saw that when they were 8-0 before they fell to the Saints. But I think the matchup still is neck and neck. And you look at the Saints, I think the one thing that is kind of different, what you mentioned earlier, was the Saints defense. And they're getting after the ball. I love the addition of Eli Apple. He's giving him a new life, because he was getting smothered with the New York Giants.
Yeah, people were actually like suspect of that acquisition because of how targeted and vulnerable he seemed in New York.
Yes, I think he fits into that scheme. I think all these guys are buying in to what Sean Payton is trying to give them. Even bringing in the championship with all that money in the same case, these guys are hungry for not just themselves, for the city of New Orleans. And there's a crazy meme going aroame from 2000, the 10-year mark. They won in 2019, had the same record, had the same type of defense,
same losses,
same offense. And now it's 2019. He's in the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl and win it all. This is a crazy coincidence, but they are looking like a great team. And they don't have that as many big weapons that they did the year that they won in 2019, but with guys like Michael Thomas and the running game too, at much of the running game, they look great. But it's still neck and neck situation, because both defensive line can change it in a split second. Aaron Donald, Dominican Chu, and other sides, Cameron Jordan, and those guys. So it's still neck and neck, but the defense is going to be the factor in this game, most definitely. Secondary, all around, all 11 players.
Yeah, and the thing that really gives me pause in terms of the Rams' chances in this one is the secondary. And in that last matchup with when they faced New Orleans, Peters gave up 7 receptions, 146 yards, and the game sealing touchdown to Thomas. And that's one of the things, like, I don't see who's gonna be really able to neutralize Thomas, because nobody really has. With the
not even Talib coming back and being able to stick him.
Yeah, to me, like that, because Talib wasn't in that first matchup, right?
No, he's been hurt.
Yeah, for most of the season. So to me, like, yeah, that does give the Rams a little bit of a boost, but the secondary has been their biggest liability, and we know, like, that's been an issue. With the quarterback play, though, obviously Breeze has the huge advantage, but how much of a disparity, like, do you think they're going to rely on the run game more? Like, how much responsibility do you think Goff is going to have if they can, have a really good shot of winning?
I think for both teams, just given let's go with the Rams. The Rams will depend on their running game heavily. And I say this because those Coop, they don't have the guy who can take the cylinder or the roof off of cover 2 defense or cover 3 defense. They don't have that slot guy. Roy Woods is not that same type of caliber wide receiver as Coop is. They have Brandon Cooks is, of course.
Yeah.
But I think you can neutralize Brandon Cooks, but you can't neutralize Kupp because he's a phenomenal route runner. Brandon Cooks is just a fast guy. He's super fast, and he's short, he's small, he's like a compacted little miniature zoom, whatever you want to call it. But they don't have that guy who can take it off the roof. And I know people are going to say, oh, Brandon Cooks. But if you look at previous games, Brandon Cooks, he's not a factor most of the time. The factors are the other wide receivers or Todd Gurley coming out of the backfield and running the ball. But they're going to depend on C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley heavy like they did last game. And that's why they won. But I think with the Saints, it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a mixture because Sean Payton is one of the greatest offensive coordinators I've seen in the past 10 years. He's very strategic, a balance. He's a balanced type offense guy. That's why they still run I formation and one back there formation. He's kind of an old school guy. So they're going to depend on the balance. I think the Rams are going to depend on the run game mostly because Jared Goff is a decent quarterback, but he does miss throws. He does miss open wide receiver. We've seen that when they played the Kansas City Chiefs. We've seen that when they played the Saints. He misses wide open receivers. He doesn't go through his progression. Sometimes he forces throws. So they're going to depend on the running game most of the game, in my opinion.
Who you like in this one?
I'll take the Saints.
Yeah.
I can't go against the Saints.
Yeah. It really – I mean, we've talked about it before. Breeze and Peyton at the Superdome, they haven't lost in their entire tenure together. And it's just – even with what the Eagles were able to do in that 14-0 start, as long as the Saints were able – like when they went for it on 4th and goal, and I think it was 14-0, and they could have went for a field goal. It's one of those things where Peyton is such a gutsy play caller, and when he makes those type of gambles, he usually is, he knows the state of the game and where they're at, and he knew that they had to convert that. When they converted it, it seemed from right then on they just had the confidence and the momentum to carry them on for the win. But it's one of those games where the quarterback edge is really much there. And I think the running game wasn't as effective early in the Philly game, and I think it will be more in this one. But do you see like a closer game, or do you see them pulling away late?
I think it's going to be similar to the first game, even with the amount of time you have to prepare for the team. It's hard to beat a team twice, but I think these guys go in a frenzy of who can score the most, and but I think whoever has the ball last, just like the last game, will kind of solidify who wins. And then I think what defense turns it up when it matters the most, the red zone. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a high scoring game. Yeah, I don't think these guys are going to put it on.
Is this the best Final Four you can imagine of a conference championship?
Most definitely.
Yeah. To me, this seems about as like midway through the season, we felt as though these were the 4 best teams, and now they're here.
It's the craziest thing because it has literally everything you want. It has young quarterbacks. It has young old quarterbacks. It has teams that been in the Super Bowl or been in the postseason consistently. It has teams that haven't been in the Super Bowl or postseason in a long, long time. So it has everything you want at every angle. You can spin it. But if it ends up young versus old, and then or old versus old, it's gonna be a crazy sight. Or young versus young, the Rams versus the Chiefs, or the Saints versus the Patriots. It's gonna be a crazy. This is the best it has been. Not defensive wise, but offensive wise, and giving everything that you want in a game. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. This Final Four it's bonkers.
Yeah. Transitioning to the AFC Championship. Earlier in the year that the Chiefs and Patriots had a back and forth thriller in Foxborough, 43-40. That the Patriots were able to pull out the win, and in that game it was crazy because at one point the Patriots were up, I think 24-9, and then there were 4 lead changes and a combined 83 points. And Mahomes struggled early with errant red zone throws and a couple of interceptions, and the Patriots had a balanced attack with Michelle, and then Edelman had a pretty good game. But with the Chiefs earlier in the year, the 28th in defense efficiency, now they're 17th, and their pass rush with Justin Houston back was lights out against Indianapolis, a team that had one of the best offensive lines in the league. And on for the Patriots, Gilmore has been a shutdown corner, and Trey Flowers has had 7.5 sacks this year in a contract year. But obviously the weather conditions, I think, projected to be -5 to -10, and could affect the passing game. But what are you saying with like what matchups stand out to you the most, and what do you see kind of deciding this one?
I think it's going to come down to the quarterbacks, and we saw that last of the game early in the season, where these guys were coming at each other, going back and forth, and it ended up with who had the ball last to kick a field goal. But I think if Patrick Mahomes comes out and he's precise, because in that game he missed a lot of throws, and he'll tell you that. He said that multiple times in press conferences after the game, and in last press conference coming up, that he missed a lot of throws, and that's why they started off really cold. And then he started hitting the guys that were open, just finding the guys. So if he does that early and often, it's going to be a long game for the Patriots. Long game. And the formula to beat the Patriots is get pressure on Tom Brady. Make him beat you with his arm. And I know it's like, yeah, that's crazy. Do not let him don't let him throw. If you don't make them one-dimensional, bring pressure, stop the running game, bring pressure, then you'll make them one-dimensional. You can rear your head back and go get him. And they have the defensive linemen to do it. But the one thing that I'm still on the fence for with the Rams and the Chiefs is their secondary. They've gotten better. I would say that they have gotten better with the addition of Orlando Scandrick. I think he's a good nickel guy in the dime package to play in the slot receiver. He's a physical guy, but I'm still on the fence about them. But make the Patriots one-dimensional. Stop Sonny Michel. It's going to be hard to stop James White out the backfield. That's no easy task. But make them one-dimensional and go get Tom Brady.
Yeah, and that's always kind of been the calling card for teams can neutralize Brady. The Patriots, at home this year, that they played really well. In the postseason, like historically, they're 3-4, and the Chiefs and the 19-3 at home in the postseason overall, and the Chiefs are 8-1 at home this year. Like how much of an edge do you see the home field being for the Chiefs, or because like it really doesn't matter where New England plays because they have that momentum, but I do feel as though we think of this game differently if it was in Foxborough.
I think so. But I don't think for either team it matters about home field advantage or where they are, because they have enough weapons on the offensive side to play anywhere. And it's going to come down to what wide receiver core is better. And on the paper, in the game, the Chiefs wide receiver core is 10 times better than the Patriots. Just given Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins. It's a couple of other
do they have an answer? Do you think they have an answer for Kelce?
No. Yeah. I think he's like Gronkowski. It's kind of hard. You can try to put cover 2 on him, put a middle linebacker on him, but that's kind of hard too, because you're going to have a linebacker on him cover 2, cover 3. You're going to still have a linebacker on him. It's a mismatch to whoever is on him. So that's the difference between those. And he's a blocking tight end. He's also a good wide receiver. So it's kind of hard to match up with them. Gronk is they won't have Gronk. I don't think. Gronk has still been injured. He hasn't been healthy since he was a baby. But that was kind of bad.
Whoa.
That was
kind
of bad.
Slow blow.
I'm sorry, that was kind of bad. But I think their wide receiver core is better. But I think Tom Brady makes more precise decisions. And he's confident. I'm not saying Patrick Mahomes is not confident, but Brady doesn't miss throws on a regular basis. So I'm going with the Chiefs. I'm going with the Young Guns. The Young Guns. I think they have enough. I think this time they learn from their mistakes. Don't miss the throws, because New England let them back in. They were up like 20 points, and then here comes the Kansas City Chiefs, because that's the type of talent they have. And the difference now, Kareem Hunt is not there, but I think
Damian Williams has they haven't skipped a beat with him.
Yeah, so it's going to be good. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I would give the edge to the Chiefs too, because I mean they average 35 points, and this is like the difference. As simple as it sounds, I think the difference is Mahomes. Like this is a generational talent, and we wouldn't be saying the same thing with Alex Smith, and I think like this is he's been able to just take the skill position players and the talent he has around them and just and take them to new heights that we really haven't seen even when Smith was there. And Andy Reid, he's one of the best coaches we've ever seen, and one of the best, and a genius offensive play caller. And he doesn't get his just due enough.
I don't think he does either. He's definitely a legendary coach from the Philadelphia Eagles and now the Kansas, because they make things simple for their quarterbacks, and they draw up plays like it's in the backyard and it's saying with a stick, and every time it works.
Right. He
has a crazy him and Belichick. Oh gosh, imagine those two on the same team. Him with offensive.
All right, Reed, you take care of my offense. I'll take care
defense. We're gonna win every Super Bowl until we die. Like that'll be crazy.
But Reed is the only coach. Yeah, Reed is the only coach Belichick has given, I think, 40 points or more to 3 times.
Yeah.
So he's definitely. I mean, his teams can score. I'm obviously have scored a lot against New
England. I think so too.
Transitioning to Kyler Murray's decision to declare for the draft. He it was one of those things where I think after the playoff. Speaking of the playoff, we haven't talked about the Clemson Alabama game. What were your quick thoughts on that before we transition?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna say. Wow. I knew Clemson was going to win.
Right.
But I didn't know I didn't know they were going to win that big.
Mm-hmm.
And Lawrence has just solidified himself as the next star.
Yeah.
I never did say I didn't like him. I say he was still a freshman quarterback. Now that tag is off. He's a national champion.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not, I won't say single-handedly beat them, but his arm. I like
the difference maker. It was
he does. And he sacrifices his body for his team. And that's what I like in quarterback. He'll stay in the pocket, deliver a dime and get mashed and get up and hug his offensive line like, all right, good job, guys. Like he's like Andrew Luck.
Right.
But he has a stronger arm than Andrew. And I want to say he's faster than Andrew. I think he's faster than Andrew. But I like the kid. He's a star. But I don't know if they will repeat, but they have to get another running back because I think what's his name? Etienne.
Yeah.
I think he's leaving.
Mm. Yeah.
But he was a big part of the offense too. And then they have to get 4 more D linemen because all those guys are leaving.
Are gone.
Yeah.
They came back for that game.
Oh, most def.
Yeah.
They wanted revenge. Well, they definitely wanted revenge.
Yeah.
I think they got put out before with Kelly.
Yeah. That was a passing of the torch. To me, like but you never want to count out Alabama because I definitely think they'll be back. But it seems now that Clemson's the premier program in college football.
Yeah.
I'm close. I'm not going to definitively say that. I'm going to say that
I think that'll be like a top.
They're no longer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but
be a. Sorry.
Yeah, start a firestorm. Kyler Murray, he's declared for the NFL draft, and he has It was interesting because Cliff Kingsbury said, who's now the head coach of the Cardinals, that if he could take him number 1, he would, because the Cardinals have the number 1 overall pick, and but they picked Josh Rosen 10th last year, and that's one of those things where if he thinks he's the better fit, you go for it. But if you think you can build something with Rosen, you stick with him. But comparing Baker and Kyler, I mean, on the surface, they're similar because, both short, have the chance to be the number 1 overall pick. I'm not saying Murray will be, but some teams he could be drafted by. I mean, look, if you pair him with the Giants and he's got Barkley and Beckham, that could be a good fit. Raiders, Cardinals, and so there are some teams he could go to that he could have a good start at. But what were your thoughts on his decision, and what team would you like to see him with?
I was surprised just because he already has a deal to play in MLB. I think that's more lucrative for him.
It was already set.
To go to the MLB than the NFL because he has certain qualities about his game that you will like. He's a fast, mobile quarterback. He does have a big arm, and he does have, he can extend plays. But if you look deeper into him, he doesn't go through his progressions. I forgot what wide receiver he is. He throws to this wide receiver, I think 35, 40%. Yeah, and when he doesn't target him or pass to him, he's 15% of the completion rate.
Wow.
That is a terrible number for a potential starting quarterback or quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't – I think he's too quick to run out of the pocket instead of standing there and making a throw, reading through his progression. That goes to that pocket presence. I think his stature and his mobility will inadvertently end him up being smashed because everybody is fast. Lamar Jackson has had to realize this in the NFL. Everybody is quick, fast, and strong because you can't outrun everybody. You can outrun some people, but you can't outrun everybody because some of these Myles Garrett ran a 4.4.
Yeah.
And he's like 6'7", benches the house, just freakish nature, and he goes get people like Lamar Jackson, Cam Newton, all these guys. So I'm worried that the things that he needs to work on won't allow him to become a NFL starting quarterback. I thought he should have just stayed in MLB. Some guys are just college quarterbacks. I'll name a few just to give you an example. Matt Leinart,
definitely
college quarterback. Tim Tebow, love him to death, college quarterback. Robert Griffin III, college quarterback. Flutie from Florida State, college quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of guys. The list goes on, not just because of their stature, just because the tangibles you need to become a successful quarterback in the NFL, they don't have. It's some things you cannot teach. It's some things you just have to have. And the difference between Baker and Kyler, Baker has those things. He reads through his progression. Sometimes he does make some ill-advised throws, but he's more confident, I think, in Kyler. He has a similar arm to Kyler, but I think he's overall a better quarterback because he has a pocket presence. I've seen him step up and elude so many sacks this year and in the preseason as well. But I just think the difference that Baker has the tangible things that you don't have to teach. But Kyler, you will have to bring him up. He has to be behind somebody for 3 or 4 years before he even gets an opportunity to be a starting quarterback.
Yeah, definitely, and that's one of the things because that's kind of the reason I said with Baker that you could compare them on the surface, but not really is like what you were saying. Baker reads through his progressions more, and Kyler. To me, Baker's a more accurate passer, and sometimes outside of his targets to CeeDee Lamb, it's we saw significant issues against Alabama and how they went down significantly in that 28 hole, and some of the issues where the height, when you have the accuracy and the precision that Baker Mayfield or a Drew Brees or Russell Wilson has, it's not going to hurt you as much. But when some of the issues Kyler Murray has, that can come in to haunt you in pivotal games. So is there a team you see him going to, or you think would possibly be a good fit?
See,
you're just kind of convinced this is just a college, just a college quarterback, not one that can take kind of the next jump.
Well, you look at guys like Troy Smith or even Tyrod Taylor, guys that had to sit behind somebody to learn the system. I think the team that he goes to, he would definitely have to do that 3 or 4 years to learn the system, learn the tangible things that you will have to need to be successful. I don't know if he wants to invest that time into doing so, or he has that confidence he can be a successful quarterback. It's just opinions for me. But the teams that are you have the 49ers, they're not looking for a quarterback. They just pay so much money for Jimmy. Look at the Cardinals. They have Rosen. I think if you put the right pieces around Rosen, they'll be successful. And the defense is totally trash. Then you have the Jets, Sam Darnold. They already got a quarterback. I don't think John Gruden would go get a mobile quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he gets rid of everybody. I just don't see that for a season. And Tampa Bay might look at him in interest, but the only reason why I say Tampa Bay won't get him because they had an opportunity to go get Marcus Mariota, which is the same type of quarterback, but they chose Jameis Winston, which is a similar pocket quarterback type, but he can run. But I didn't think they wanted to go into that direction. I think because they had an opportunity to get a dual threat quarterback and they passed up on it for Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
So I don't maybe the Giants, but I see Giants getting an offensive lineman or even another defensive player to.
You don't see them going after a quarterback?
Eli Apple. I don't see them going out a quarterback early because they just gave Eli Manning an extension. They probably go get someone 5th, 6th round when they don't have to pay him as much. They just paid Eli. They just paid OBJ. They have to pay Ingram here shortly. They have to pay Sterling Shepard here shortly. They got to pay their whole defense.
Why do they keep paying Eli?
I don't know. I don't know, Wellington. It baffles me literally. When I saw that, I woke up and
I'm missing something. I
don't know. They gave him 2 more years. Yeah. Why? It's time. It is time to get him out of there. You need some young guns. Saquon Barkley was the best move they made in 5 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they drafted a lot of running backs, and he's the first one to pan out.
Yeah, a transcendent type player.
Yeah. Get Eli out of there. You give him 2 more years to mentor someone. They'll definitely get a quarterback. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it'll be a dual threat quarterback. I don't think Murray will be that guy. And early, no, not that early. Kyler will go at least 4th, 5th round. He's not going to go that early. I don't see that.
Yeah. Before we transition to the
wait.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Maybe the Jaguars. Well, they did pass up a Lamar Jackson, so there you go.
Shows you how much they're interested in dual threat quarterbacks. But before we transition to the NBA, there was big news about Jalen Hurts transferring to Oklahoma, and right when you think Oklahoma's possibly in a rebuild situation, now they're reloading with another transfer quarterback who was 26-2 and led his team to 2 national championships as a starter. Quickly, what are your thoughts on the move for him and what Lincoln Riley can do? Because obviously Lincoln Riley is the offensive mastermind in college football right now.
I think it was the best move for Jalen as a pocket passer, as a thrower, because that's one of the things that he lacks the most. He has progressed, but those are the things he lacks the most as a quarterback if he wants to get to the next level. Going to Oklahoma when they have 5 wide spread and they run guns that allow you to find the open receiver, go through progressions, and become a passer, that's the best situation you could have went to. There or Ohio State, but I think he didn't choose Ohio State because Urban Meyer stepped down. But I think once Kyler said, okay, I'm going to the NFL, he was like, all right, they have an open spot. They need a quarterback. I don't know if he's going to start, but he has the opportunity to start and work for that starter position. But that's the best opportunity for him. Because if he would have stayed with Alabama, I don't think he would have ever had an opportunity to go to the NFL for a quarterback.
Yeah, no, but he wouldn't have.
I think it's the best opportunity for him. Hopefully he can get those things that he need to work on. I don't know. I'm still not big on him as a passer, but he is a leader. He's a leader. You can't take that from him. And he's a winner. 26-2, 2 national championships. You can't take that from him.
Yeah. Transitioning to the NBA, the Sixers are currently 29-16 and 4th in the East, and they're currently up on leading the Pacers right now. And obviously, there have been issues with Embiid voicing his issues with how he's being used, and then a lot of people kind of questioning the chemistry between the fit, I mean, of Simmons and Embiid, and their upcoming stretch is going to be brutal. Their next 13 games, 12 of them are against teams above 500, and they're 10th in offensive efficiency and 11th in defensive. But so far they've had the second easiest schedule, and now they're going to deal with a more treacherous one, and having 7 games against West playoff teams, and in their last 16 games they've been the sixth best offense and 21st ranked defense. But with this upcoming stretch and what you've seen for them so far, and constantly, it seems as though it's the identity is always kind of tilting. It's not like set, because do they want to run? Do they want to run their offense through Embiid? Does Butler want more touches? Can Simmons reach his peak, not being able to be an effective shooter, and all these just rambling questions. But what are your thoughts on how they are presently constructed, and what how important their next 12 game stretch will be?
The process is still trying to find their identity, and I think you mentioned that. Because before the trade hit, got rid of Covington and all those other guys, they were lacking that gelling. They were lacking that consistency as a team. And then you go get Jimmy Butler, and 2 months later, you're still lacking the identity in the gel. So now you come to a point where you have a stretch of 13 games, like you said, teams over 500 and 600 are playing.
Yeah,
it's going to be extremely tough. And I think Coach Brett Brown's hit it on the nose. Is that the level of intensity rises, the talent rises, and you look forward to playing the elite. But I think they'll have to understand. I think Joel Embiid is going to have to understand. I think we talked about this before, that Joel Embiid will have to adapt. And these young kids, these young guys, young guns, don't know how to adapt. And the crazy thing about, I hate to go to right field, but look at Kyrie Irving. It took him, 3 years to understand what LeBron James was doing and saying.
What were your thoughts on that?
I thought that was profound. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, he's a veteran now. Oh, he sees it now. He sees what everything he's talking about. These young guys don't want to adapt. They want everything at their fingertips. Joel Embiid is no exception. He's that guy who is going to be outspoken. He's going to tell you what he doesn't like. He's going to tell you what he does love. But he's not going to sugarcoat anything. And these young guys don't know how to adapt. And Jimmy Butler is a veteran. Ben Simmons is a young guy. He's still trying to mature his game. But they're going to have to figure out something. The process is still trying to figure out who they are. They have the pieces. They do. They have one of the best big threes in the league. But it's not showing on paper, or it's not showing on the court. And now you're in a stretch. I don't think that. I think they go 5 for 8.
Wow.
I think they go 5 for 8, and I say that number just because
it could happen.
It could that too, and they're not gelling. This is the longest gelling process I've ever seen in basketball, given the amount of talent they had.
Yeah.
And nobody's buying into the process anymore. Everybody's individual.
And I did hear somebody throw out a radical trade. I want to hear what you think about this. They were talking about how, with Simmons, like if Simmons can't shoot, like how much more can they function as a team that has a legitimate shot to get to an Eastern Conference Finals or a Finals? And they were saying, why not just trade Simmons for Anthony Davis? And you have a front line of Embiid and Anthony Davis, and then you still got Butler there, and Simmons can be the head guy in New Orleans, and that's an interesting radical trade, but which I don't think they would do, but I mean obviously it would be amazing for Philly, but how much of the Simmons factor do you think is a big issue in terms of the shot?
They make a valid point.
Yeah,
that's definitely interesting. I'm 75% with that, because if he can't create his own shot, then you're just a normal point guard.
Right.
We can find anybody in addition to Joel Embiid or Anthony Davis, and then I actually like that duo because it can really be like the Admiral and the Big Fundamental, and it actually would be like Shaq Nasty and the Mailman when Karl Malone was there for this last tenure with the Lakers before he retired from the NBA. So I like that. I actually like that trade. Because if
Yeah.
Ben can't shoot, if Ben can't create his own shot, if you can't make people fear you to open up lanes for other guys, then you're just normal. We could go find a guy in D League who can do that.
Yeah, and the last thing with this I was watching Inside the NBA, and Kenny Smith was saying he doesn't have to score to be an effective player. If he creates the pace and he gets other guys involved, he doesn't have to have 20 or 30 plus to be an effective player. Which I mean I definitely do agree with. But at some point in April or May, the pace is going to slow down. It's not going to be a fast pace. It's going to be half court offenses and who can dominate in those sets.
Yes.
Yeah. So you feel with this 13 game stretch, it could be one where they have a below 500 record in terms of how their overall record in the 13 game stretch.
I definitely agree. And then I think the one game they will definitely win will be against the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Oh yeah.
I think it'll be that, not just because they're better, just because I think Jimmy Butler will come out and probably score 95 points, just to prove a point.
Against the third stringers.
Yeah, against a guy who forgets his jersey. Did you see that?
Yes.
These guys are jokes, man. They don't take basketball seriously anymore. It's not the same.
They don't even take being professional seriously.
Exactly. It's not the same. Different breed of players. Come on.
Before we move on, do you approve of the proposed Simmons for Davis?
Yes. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I think that'll be perfect because Anthony Davis can spread. If Joel Embiid, and he's been in that system where he already had another big guy who scored 40, Cousins. 20 with Cousins. So he's an unselfish player. That's what I love about Anthony Davis. He's an unselfish player. He's going to get his regardless. He just wants to win. He just wants to win. So, that would be a movement to have. The process would be complete by me. It was
February 7th. By February 7th, I'm going to get my phone's going to blow up with Wellington. Have they traded Simmons to New Orleans yet? Is it happening? We need this to happen.
It might as well send Markelle Fultz just because, hey, we just got somebody you might need. Just send him over there too. Oh God.
Yeah. Transitioning to Golden State. This past Tuesday, they had a very convincing win against the former number one seed Nuggets by 31, and came back from down 16 in the third to beat the Pelicans last night. And Steph had a phenomenal game, hitting 7 threes. And I think 7 threes in the third quarter and 8 overall. And they had 51 points in the first quarter against the Nuggets. And you know, they've just been rolling lately, winning 6 in a row and are first in the West. And you know, earlier in the season, you know, we've been talking about how they've looked, you know, vulnerable at times with, you know, offensive lows and how strife with, you know, the Draymond and KD situation over the impending free agency. But, you know, right now, it's almost back to normal, you know, averaging 115.3 points per 100 possessions, which is best in the league. And, you know, there still are some issues with their wing depth and, you know, their big man rotation. It's been spotty at times. And, you know, now they've got Cousins coming back Friday against the Clippers. But what have been your thoughts on, you know, their latest streak and Draymond even shooting better from the perimeter and Steph, you know, being on a tear?
I think they're hearing what people are saying about them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is one of the most prideful teams in the NBA. And that's old school right there because their coach is old school. He won multiple championships and they won multiple championships. So I think, and another thing to give to the Warriors, they are the best third quarter basketball team in the NBA and in the history of NBA.
Yeah, and that's the thing, the history too. Is I'm wondering how many, like, what other third quarter teams in NBA history have been like this potent in the third quarter? Because I'm sure it's a handful, but you know, they're really up there.
These guys, man, I've seen them come back in third quarter games so many times. We're like, oh, it's another third quarter comeback. Okay, well, that's good. Well, that's whatever. But no, Draymond's shooting better. He's getting back to old Draymond. If they could get old Draymond back, he's not too far off.
Mhm.
It's just he's just not hitting. It's just not his season to hit. But now is a new year, new Draymond, 2019.
He just needs to
the
stop
bad
shooting
vibe.
like he has a backpack on. Okay,
Really?
I'm sorry. I saw that meme and I'm like, why are you guys doing that to Draymond? Draymond can be an effective 3-point shooter. Come on.
Wait. So
give respect to Draymond.
He's coming in the gym in the lunchtime. Hey, let me get a quick shot real quick. Got the football still on. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. But no,
one more before science. One more before science class.
Oh my gosh. Hey, let me get that back, man. Let me take the book back. Oh man, that is rich. Oh man, but if I
didn't mean to throw you off. You were on a roll.
That was really funny. That was really funny. Oh my god, I can just picture it because it happened so many times in high school. Oh man. Where were we?
Listeners, we apologize. This happens sometimes.
It happens all the time. Oh man, this makes the podcast good, man.
This may be even funnier. This may be even funnier than the Kawhi invitation we had, which somebody even responded to that one. Somebody even said LOL.
Don't get me started on that laugh.
I'm a fun guy.
Oh my god. Wellington. Okay, all right. Draymond Green.
Just talk about Clay. Don't talk about Draymond.
Hey, look, move passes. I don't. He needs to stop shooting like he has a backpack on. Oh, it's heavy. He has history books in there.
Taking 17 credits.
Zoology books. Oh man. Let me put these down, man.
Well, okay. What I was saying was that their wing depth has been an issue, and their big man rotation has been spotty. But they've got Cousins coming back. Obviously when they traded for Cousins, this is they lost a little bit of depth. But do you think it's one of those things where this team is so top heavy, even those stretches where their big three isn't or big four isn't out there, they can still sustain it in tougher playoff series?
I think so. Just given the fact that you have one of the best big mans in the league coming back, and hopefully he's fully healthy, who can actually spread the floor, get nasty in the paint, and play great defense. That's really scary to just add to the field of the fire of guys that can shoot the lights out, that can create their own shots. Every person on this basketball team can create their own shot. They can move pace. They have everything that you want in basketball players. This is why they are scary. You can never count the Golden State Warriors out. Right now, they're still the best team in the NBA and in the team to win it all. Mm-hmm. Just to give them the amount of talent and ability that they have. But when Cousins comes back, I don't think they will have a problem of sharing the ball or finding ways to win with him on the court. I think he fits with anybody. I think he fits with Clay on the court. I think he fits with Draymond on the court and KD. So I think those guys, it's going to be hard to beat them.
Yeah.
Even if Draymond's not hitting, I think Cousins will definitely hit, and he will pick up the slack for Draymond until Draymond comes back and start hitting percentages. Because once Draymond's not hitting, you can focus on other guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Iguodala. Well, Iguodala's not a big 3-point shooter; he's more a driver and a passer than anything, and a defensive guy. But he can't shoot the 3 too.
Yeah, and with their win against Denver, because there had been it really did seem like a statement win for them. Just sending a message that we see all their superior team. The Nuggets are good, but they're not at this level yet. Do you think that win showed? I mean, obviously the Warriors are still a team to beat, but do you think that win showed that there's still not a clear-cut second best team in the West
with the different Nuggets?
Yeah,
I still think there are. I think they still are, but when you go against a team like the Golden State Warriors, it doesn't
Because I
matter.
mean, if we're comparing them against OKC or Houston, like would we still say that they're the would we really be confident saying that Denver's the second best team in the West?
I think so. Given the streak and the momentum that the Houston Rockets have, OKC is still playing lights out. I still think the Denver Nuggets are the second best team in the West. I definitely think so. I think they just let the game get away from them. And the Golden State Warriors was hot. Everybody besides Steph was definitely hot. He was 31 points, 10 for 18 from the field. I mean, the guys were hot. When the Golden State Warriors are hot, it doesn't matter how many points you score. They're going to score. And you want to get them not hot. Because the first half of the season, they weren't hot at all. They were
So you must
hitting.
really like Denver. So you must really like Denver.
I like the progress Denver has made for the past 5 years, and they've been in the mix, but they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough. And I like Beasley. I like Beasley as a player. I think he's a leader, the clear-cut leader on this team. And they're playing good basketball. They just got outbeat by a team that was hot, super hot. And when they're hot, they can beat the Cosmos. They can beat anybody. They can beat the Titans. Remember the Titans. It doesn't matter what Titans. They can beat the Titans. So they can beat the Monstars. Let's go to Space Jam. They can beat the Monstars. So,
I don't know about that.
Well, no, I don't know about that. But no, I mean, it wasn't their night. They played great basketball. They still put up 111 points. That's not, but it's just a team that was hot.
Mm-hmm.
And when Steph Curry is hot, he's the best in the league.
Yeah. Transitioning to the Lakers, they're currently 4-7 without LeBron and ninth in the West, and they have the second most difficult remaining strength of schedule, and they're going to face Golden State and Milwaukee twice, and then Toronto and Denver once. And Kuzma and Hart, they found more rhythm than Ball and Ingram, and Ingram was supposed to coming into the season. He was supposed to be the second most important player on the team of a team that was supposed to have a lot of success, and then Lonzo was supposed to be an essential complementary player. And Kuzma is the second leading scorer for the team, averaging 18.8, and leading them in leading the young core at least in rebounding with 5.9. And it was interesting because Lonzo said about the losses that what they were missing, and he was saying we don't have our two most vocal leaders in LeBron and Rondo, and nobody's really been able to fill that void because outside of LeBron. Outside of Rondo, without LeBron, I don't see anybody else being able to fill that void. If Rondo was in there, I think there would have been more vocal leadership, and there's just none right now. And Kuzma's definitely blossomed, but that's been about it. So is this something that we should have just expected in terms of without LeBron, there really hasn't been significant progress with the young core?
We always talk about these things.
Yeah.
That they don't have a clear-cut leader without LeBron James. You just hit it. You just talked about it, about Rondo not being there. LeBron's not there. They have a clear-cut leader. But these young guys have to step up, and I think they're not stepping up at all. And like Brandon Ingram was supposed to be the second guy. He was supposed to be the man. He was supposed to be with LeBron James before LeBron got there. And it's not showing. Mm-hmm. But I think with the three-head monster of Lonzo, Ingram, and Kuzma, they have to step it up. And they're going to play a team in OKC who's third, I think, one game behind Denver Nuggets with 26 and 17. These guys are hungry. And without your fearless leader, you have to step up to the plate. You have to emulate the Celtics without Kyrie Irving, without Gordon Hayward. You have to emulate these guys, this team who stepped up. You don't have the amount of talent that they have, but you have the potential talent that they had. You know what I'm saying? So they have to step up. This is what the Lakers is missing. That's why they try to entice LeBron to come. That's why they try to get veteran guys, because they're still young-minded. You still have the aroma of what's the guy that's with the Brooklyn Nets now who's told on Swaggy P about different things. That's the type of MO.
D'Angelo Russell.
Yeah, D'Angelo Russell. They still have that smell on them. They still have that immaturity. They're not their game's not mature. They're not, becoming the team without LeBron James. And it shows how much impact LeBron has on basketball teams.
Yeah.
Because it shows when he's not there.
Yeah,
It's going to
and you've
show
said it. You've said it almost every year. LeBron should be the most valuable player because anytime he's out, his team takes a significant, nosedive.
a significant nosedive because you need order. LeBron is order. LeBron, that's why I say LeBron is one of the best. He is the best overall player that ever played the
Ever,
basketball game, ever.
ever.
All, all, all around. That's defense, that's passing, that's scoring, that's team leadership, that's money. He's all around. He's all around. LeBron James he's an impactful player. He makes everyone around him better. So
Mhm.
when he's not there, they don't have that push. They don't have that guy that's, hey, no, get from over there, go over there. Slant or whatever you want to say, whatever basketball terminology. Get
Right.
out the rim, move around. Like they're gonna have a general on the court. And it shows. It showed for the past 4 or 5 years when Kobe Bryant retired. And then we're in the limbo of do we suck or are we too young or what's going on? We need an identity. Let's go get LeBron. So
Mhm.
just simple. Step up. If the
Yeah.
Boston Celtics can do it without their starting guys, why can't you?
Yeah, and you were talking about the Celtics before we close out. They had a 9-point win against the Raptors last night, and Kyrie had a huge performance. But this is a team though. We saw that the timeout issue against dispute when they had a timeout, and Kyrie had an issue with the play for the last play against Orlando, and then the timeout against Miami when Morris and Brown got into it. I'm still not sure about this team. I'm not. It's just I'm not completely sold on them yet because it's just kind of up and down. Like they have good performances, but it won't be consistent. Where are you currently on the Celtics?
I think I think in that interview, the little snippet to praise LeBron James was not a sneak diss to his team, but
It could be.
it allowed us to enter into the locker room of the Boston Celtics because you do have a lot of young guys. I won't excluding Smart because I think he's a veteran guy. He's been in the league for long enough. You have Tatum, Rozier, you have Brown, you have those type of guys. But now you can see it's a conflicting of veteran guys and young guys. Like I want this, do this. I think we should do this. No, we should do that. I think it's a conflict of interest in the locker room. I think that it is like seeping on the floor. And we've seen that with the Golden State Warriors because they start losing games. They want us focused. Now they have to refocus. And I think that's what the Celtics have to do because I still have them going to the NBA Finals. I still have them going to the Eastern Conference Finals because they have the talent to go to the finals. They just
Mhm.
have to figure it out. And that's what is happening because Kyrie now is realizing, and it took him a while to realize that the younger guys and everybody has to buy in to what they're selling.
Yeah.
They have to buy in. Everybody has to be on the same page to be successful. That's why the Lakers won back to back a couple of times because everybody knew their role. And I think with the new guys, everybody, as we say, everybody wants to have it at their fingertips. They want this. They want to be the leader. They want to be this. They play into the hype of the media. Nobody's on the same page. Everybody can't be the guy. And that's what we talked about before the season started. How can these guys coexist knowing the success they had without Kyrie, without Gordon Hayward? So they just have to figure it out. They
Yeah.
have to figure out who's who, who's the guy. Kyrie's the guy. Gordon Hayward is a situational player. Tatum is the next big guy on campus. Rozier is a situational player. Jaylen Brown is a situational player. Smart is the defensive guy. You just have to realize what you are on this basketball team. If you
And
don't
these
like
were,
it,
yeah.
yeah.
And these were the things we kind of overlooked when we were extremely sky high coming into them this season. Is they have a lot of similar players, really good
Yes.
offensive guys, and sometimes they can mirror each other, and it doesn't reveal itself when Kyrie and Gordon Hayward are out, but when they're in, that mirroring can start to clash, and that can kind of bring up some of the issues that they're having, some of the chemistry issues that they're having. But just like you said, you still like them coming out of the East, and obviously they're in a rough spot right now, but I think in spring that we'll see them be playing their best ball.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, Wellington.
Well, that wraps it up for tonight. I'm your host, Wellington Burns, along with my counterpart, Savon Morris. This has been Full Scope. See you later.